The Unplayable Podcast is proudly presented by Qantas, the official podcast partner and the official airline partner of Cricket Australia. Once again this season, Qantas is proud to be flying Australia's cricketers as they take on the world.
Let's get it on, Gilly. This is Pat Cummins. This is Australia.
One of the worst things I have ever seen done on a cricket field. Good night.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Unplayable Podcast. Well, a hectic day here at Mackay's Great Barrier Reef Arena. What a way to start in Test cricket for this venue. First time that we've had Test cricket here, and wow, what a day. We've had 18 wickets fell. Australia have a lead of 101 runs, but it was one of the most hectic days I think that we've seen in quite a while, even though we've had a lot of hectic days. My name's Schonafinger, Louis Cameron's here, and where do you begin with a day like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of reminded of that Marilyn Monroe quote about, if you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. I don't know if Marilyn Monroe ever came to Mackay, but
Was this the worst or the best?
Well, both, all in one. I mean, like it was Mitch Starc at his new ball best. The other bowler's brilliant on a thatchy wicket. And then Australia's top order at their just about worst. The problems for the top order are several and increasing, I would say, and we can dive into that into some detail here.
Yeah, we absolutely should. Why don't we start with Starc though, because that's how the day began, and it was the first ball of the day that he took the wicket of Shoriful Islam. It's the fourth time he's taken a wicket on the first ball of a Test match. And then he took 5 wickets in the space of about 40 minutes. It was a complete annihilation of the Bangladesh top order. All the resilience and patience and restraint that they showed in Darwin, they didn't show it here. And as Starc just said in the press conference, I was bowling half volleys and they were edging them. Yeah,
and that's an unkind thing to say about himself, but it is kind of typical Starc. He hates talking about himself. Every time I've almost got to the point where I just don't do it, but then I hear other people doing it. I'm like, you're not going to get the answer you want here. But he was irresistible, wasn't he? And it just makes you wonder, like, if Pat Cummins had done a similar thing at Marara Stadium, very different pitch, different conditions, but it did do a lot in that first session, going back to last week. Whether Starc could have inflicted some similar damage. This is, Bangladesh are at the moment staring at their third innings defeat in 4 red ball games. Their top order is incredibly fragile. It's hilarious to say, given all the plaudits the rightful plaudits we gave them last week. But in amongst it, it's an extremely fragile batting unit. Golden duck for Shoriful Islam, second ball duck for Tanzid, who's now made 2 ducks in a row since his 100. 101-0-0. It's a very binary set of scores for him. Mominal made 9 before he guided one to cover. Shanto, Golden Duck, Mushfiqur bowled for 5. He didn't get out to Mitchell Starc, and Liton Kumar Das could have been out twice in as many balls. He offered the easiest catch of all time to Bo Webster, and then got his front pad blown off the next ball. From 5 was it 5 for 12? It was 5 for 12. That doesn't sound like a real set of figures. It kind of felt at the time like, well, they're never going to recover from that ever. Well, they have kind of recovered from it, but it still doesn't look great for them, even despite some of the batting issues, which I'm sure we'll talk about.
That's right. So Starc had his 5-wicket haul in 22 balls. That's the 6th fastest 5-wicket haul in Test history. Of course, he holds the record with 15 against the West Indies last year. He has now 5 of his 7 best innings bowlings since December 2024. In fact, since turning 35, he's taken 66 wickets and he's averaging 17.9 with the ball in Test cricket. A long way down from his career average of 25.2, I think. Right. So it's just an incredible way that he's been able to keep going, but not even just maintaining the level that he was at, but improving by such a great margin as well.
That's a great stat, even better than the one I was about to throw at you, which is this was his 4th 6-wicket or more haul in his last 8 tests.
Well, there you go.
So he's had, I think, all the 5 that he's taken in that period. That goes back to Jamaica, I think.
Yep.
The 6 for... There was a 6 for there. That
6
was a
for
6
9, I think, on that occasion.
Then there was another 6 for to start the Ashes.
Yeah, 7
Perth.
for in
That was
Perth.
the 7
Yep.
for. 6 for in the next test in Brisbane.
That's right. Pink ball.
And now we're up to number 4 here, a few tests on in Darwin. It's remarkable. Like we've talked about it so much. Like there is zero drop-off. Even as his like it's just no one has done what he's done at this age before. I was looking at like the oldest Australian fast bowlers to take a fifer. McGrath had him covered a little bit. I think by the time he took his last fifer, I believe during the 06-07 Ashes,
Yep.
Starc at this rate will go past that if he does it again later this year. He's gonna, like, he could end up with 500 Test wickets the way he's going. Went past Dale Steyn.
Absolutely.
Today.
Yep.
He's up to 441. I think Steyn was 439. Incredible bowler, and when you get him in conditions like that, he's dynamite.
Unbelievable. So Bangladesh were bowled out for 64. They surpassed their all-time lowest total of 43, which looked like it was in danger for a little while. It was a 25-run partnership for the last wicket. Shoriful Islam top scored. I'm just going to plough through here, Lou. You stop me at any time.
This is my favourite stat. Are you gonna do the number 11 stat?
Oh, well, I should actually. So Shoriful top scored. That's only the 13th time in Test history it's happened. You might remember Ashton Agar was one.
A number 11 top scoring, that is.
Sorry, yeah, number 11 top scoring. Ashton Agar did it in the 2013 Ashes series.
Of course, he was number 11 for the 98. That Trent Bridge. Yeah.
Nathan Lyon did it in a Cape Town disaster. He scored 14. Australia were bowled out for 47 on that occasion. And so, only 13 times in 150 odd years of Test cricket. It's quite a rare occurrence. So we saw that today. We saw Pat Cummins bowl an absolute seed to dismiss Mushfiqur Rahim. And then we saw Josh Hazlewood chip in with one as well. All told, it was a pretty chaotic 34 overs from a Bangladesh point of view. And then Australia's innings started much the same way, you'd have to say.
Yeah, it did, although they got off to a bit more of a flyer. Renshaw played some nice shots ahead, kind of got away square of the wicket, and it just felt like Australia were going to be rolling by stumps. It just felt like the pitch was going to flatten out, and we were looking at 2 for 150, 2 for 200, 250 maybe, even if Head had gotten on a roll. Renshaw, he gets 2 away off Taskin off his legs, scores through the leg side, comes back for 2 both times. Good running from him, and then tries to go a third time and nicks it and gets a leading edge to slip. So that might be a case of like, I'm feeling pretty good here, and just got that touch bit ahead of himself. And then Shoriful's introduction. So Australia were up to 40 off 7 overs, so they were scoring really quickly. Head kept going after Renshaw got out, and then Shoriful's turned the game again. He's gotten. It
was surprising he didn't take the new ball to start, though, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. I mean, I can see why they wanted to stick with. I mean, Hassan Mahmood and Taskin were beautiful in Darwin, and don't have the pace that Shoriful does, and I reckon maybe the nippier, slower bowlers are often the ones you nick. It didn't quite work out exactly like that, apart from the the Taskin ball to Renshaw. But then Shoriful comes in. Head again, caught chopping on. This time a little bit different to the other ones. But from memory, Darwin was front foot both times, trying to hit squarish to the wicket, and the wicket was slower. This one, I don't think he got done by the pace of the wicket or the lack of pace in the wicket. It was a fair bit of movement coming back into him. That's going to happen when you put your best batter or second best batter, however you want to look at it, up to opening the batting. Like, he's going to get balls that deviate back into him, and you're just not going to be able to kind of cut them the way he's trying to. So, a slight issue opening up there in terms of Travis Head, the hero of the Ashes. Australia's best batter is now being exposed to conditions that ideally you wouldn't want him to be doing it. I mean, if this was his first series opening the batting, we'd be really going, why is Australia doing this? Why are we putting him in this position where he's exposed to the new ball? So I want to jump ahead as well, because I want to lump in Alex Carey into the same boat as Trav a little bit, because I think they were the two big positives out of the Ashes. Yes, we know Steve Smith is a star, but in terms of Head going up to a new position, and even Terry going up a spot to kind of 6, shot the lights out. I think 5 centuries between them in that series. All of a sudden, they haven't really given the team much at all. And Carey in this series, only 3 innings, albeit, but Carey got really bogged down in Darwin, and you could tell that he didn't want to get stuck in that same rut against Mehidy Hassan. He's come down the wicket early on. Mehidy's done him in flight. He's turned the face and offered an easy catch. So just some issues starting to develop amongst the guys Australia thought they could kind of bank on. And then we can talk about some of the other guys who have been struggling for a longer period of time.
Before we go too far further, we do have had a question from our friend and colleague and listener of the show, Jordan. He wanted to know why Travis Head has been chopping on so much. So I had the opportunity to wander around to the radio boxes, and Phil Jakes was there, former Australian left-handed opening batter, in fact. So it was a nice person to ask. And he said that Travis Head, he's just trying to cut too much. Obviously, it's such a strong area for him, and there's been no sort of consistency with his dismissals. It was right arm around the wicket first innings in Darwin, then right arm over the wicket, and then left arm over the wicket today.
Yeah.
So Jakes believes he's a little bit too keen to score through such a strong area for him. And I also heard Trent Copeland say that he's just unbalanced at the minute, and maybe he puts that down to rust. So I'm not the one to tell you why Travis Head is chopping on, but these experts believe that, a couple of reasons, maybe just too keen to score through that strong area for him, and also maybe a little bit unbalanced at the minute just due to lack of cricket.
Yeah, and really, really good points, and Phil Jakes would know better than any of us. I mean, the only thing I'd say is that during the Ashes, he scored off some balls that you were going. There's one in the Perth Test that sticks out where he hit, I think it was Bryden Cast over the wicket through backward point, and it was a third stump, maybe 3.5 stump, and it was just like bang, and so it's his biggest strength, right? Like he throws bowlers off their line and length by hitting their good balls for 4, and that in turn gives him more hittable balls to do it. So it's hard to sit here and say he shouldn't be doing that when we have seen it bring him so much success. So. See both sides of that one.
Interesting. Marnus Labuschagne, he was out for 4. He was one of Shoriful Islam's wickets in his first over, like you touched on. Andrew McDonald said before this test that Marnus Labuschagne needs big runs, and he didn't get it today, did he?
No, and I mean he might well. But this is the crazy thing about this is we're sitting here critiquing the top order. We haven't got to Cameron Green yet, who was outstanding, but let's just stick on the negatives for now. Australia's top order could ostensibly have had a shocking day with the exceptions of Green and Smith, and tomorrow they might win by 8 innings. Like they're already 101 in front. If this pitch continues to play like it does, I don't know if I'm backing Bangladesh to pass
100. Yep. Okay. Right.
So you kind of go like they've absolutely cooked it. Yet they're going to have an innings victory. In all possibility. It's a really odd position to be in. So Marnus. Look, we're just, bowled off his thigh pad today. That was unfortunate. I think, like the way it rebounded in that direction, there was a degree of misfortune. However, he was batting a long way across his stumps, very similar to Steve Smith in terms of how he went out. And you open yourself up to that when you're that far across. There is a clear gap between what Pat Cummins told us yesterday, which was this guy's batting as well as I've ever seen. This guy he mentioned him in the same breath as Smith in terms of
preparation,
and how good and how hard he is to bowl at. So that's what Pat Cummins. Pat Cummins knows better than just about anyone. He's no mug. He's not pumping up guys unnecessarily. He's saying, I think this guy's a really good player because when I bowl to him, he plays me really well. And Pat Cummins is a really good bowler. But that's not translating to the middle. No. What they're saying in Nets match simulation, when they're introducing the jeopardy of a game, it's not there. And this is not a thing that's just happened, for 2 series. It's 43 or 44 innings now, I think, without a Test century. It's going back 3 years. He's averaging around about 25. Australia need to make up their mind whether they're happy with a very long-term picture of underperformance.
Marnus will certainly be hoping that Bangladesh bat much better in the second innings, so he gets another crack. No doubt about that. Let's continue on the Shoriful stuff, because Australia got to 3 for 118. They were 54 runs ahead and absolutely cruising with Cameron Green and Steve Smith at the crease. Shoriful comes back into the attack for a 5-over spell, takes 4 for 19, including 3 wickets in 5 balls. And it all started with, I'm going to say it's a little controversial, but maybe some
You're
days
doubting yourself. Yeah, it's controversial.
Maybe some days it's given and some days it's not. But Steve Smith was out with an LBW decision with 2 orange lights, and batters never like to see that.
There's a couple of things I want to say here because I think the majority of people are watching that, and including Steve Smith, and gee, that is so unlucky.
Yep.
The DRS was brought in to remove howlers, really shocking decisions.
Yep.
And in this instance, Kumar Dharmasena, he was the umpire giving that one, thought about it long and hard. He gave him out. They had a look on, Smith rightly reviewed, like it was always going to be line ball. That was not a howler.
No.
Like, yes, it was only just clipping the stumps. Yes, it was the tiniest bit of margin, but that's not a terrible decision.
Yeah.
So it's crazy the way that DRS has reframed the way we look at decisions, and then that's kind of the one that I feel like someone like Kumar Damasina, the umpire actually gets more heat for that kind of decision than a terrible one.
That gets overturned easily. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So say that ball's a touch wider, Smith plays and misses, there's a big noise, he gives him out, and he's wrong. No one, like these days, no one says, "Oh, that was shocking umpiring." You just kind of ignore it. You go, "Oh, great, the DRS
Because
is
it's corrected, yeah.
it's corrected. We get the right decision in the end." That one's a real line ball one. The umpire makes a 50-50 call. He's shown to have not made a shocking decision.
Yeah.
It was a line ball decision. Anyway, so I just
Well, that's why I didn't feel like controversial was the right word, because even though it's a talking point, I don't necessarily think that there's any controversy to that decision.
Yeah, but like people will watch that. That'll be in all the clips that kind of go online. That'll be one of the most watched ones from today because people will have an opinion on that.
And it was only like 1 millimeter or something, very small clipping the bail.
It might have been the smallest margin of error I've ever seen on one of those. Like it could not have been hitting the little box that they
that's
project
right.
more. But that was a turning point.
Yep.
The bigger turning point I think was Carey, which we've covered.
Yep.
In terms of what that meant for Carey, what it meant for the team in that moment was him and Green had kind of rebuilt things, and then all of a sudden he's exposing Webster and the lower order to Shoriful, who's got he didn't get out to Shoriful, but Shoriful's bowling at the other end. And all of a sudden he's bowling to Webster, who's always a bit susceptible to getting hit on the pad first up. He bowled the perfect ball to a new tall batter like Webster, hit him on the pad. The Carey dismissal sparked a loss of 4-4-3.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and the manner of the dismissal, that was probably the most egregious of them all today.
Yeah. Islam, he had the wind behind him, and he was really pumped up, wasn't he? He got that first wicket of Smith, and then the cards sort of fell in his favour. The Pat Cummins wicket, which was his fifth, he said to Fox after the game that he bounced Pat Cummins because Pat Cummins bounced him when he was batting and top scoring for Bangladesh. Pat didn't get Shoriful out, but Shoriful sure did get Pat out. And then he finished up with a beauty to Starc, just left the left-handed batter again and clipped the off stump. He has kept his side in this game. I'm not saying that Bangladesh are going to come back and win here, but without his 6-wicket burst, which is the second best figures by a Bangladesh paceman of all time, they're a long way behind in this game.
You got to love how much heart they've shown.
Yeah.
A guy coming back off hamstring and a hamstring injury, and his team in absolute just about rock bottom to do what he did late in the day and to do what he did in his first over, I should say, was spectacular. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be enough to impact the game's result, but big props to him.
Cameron Green, he was great again today. 100 breakthrough 100 last week in Darwin, and then 51 not out in this innings. A bit of a contrast in this innings. Only 4 fours and 1 6 in that century. He's only got half the amount of runs in this innings, but he's already hit 8 boundaries in this one. Sweating on the loose ball, keeping out the good ones, and looked really in control. And again, he's had to bat with the tail once again, and he and Nathan Lyon held on for the last 10 overs of the day as well. So it looked like Bangladesh might be batting again by the end of today, but those two made sure that wasn't the case.
Yeah, a great point. Double the boundaries, half the runs so far from Darwin to here. He's been, the absolute biggest kind of tick for Australia.
Absolutely,
The biggest, in terms of a guy who placed in the team was unsure, and now it's like they need him more than anyone going into South Africa. I love how he pulled the ball today. It might have gotten him in a little bit of trouble at one point. There was an almost chance there at deep fine leg. Apart from that, he barely kind of put a foot wrong. He's batting in that style that they wanted from him in terms of aggressive in his own way and waiting for the loose ball. And I think the extra bounce really helped him today.
Yeah, he's used to those sort of conditions, isn't he? And well, let's just, before we finish up, I do want to talk about the pitch because that's going to be a talking point. 18 wickets has fallen. I've heard mixed reports. I listened to a bit of the radio, listened to a bit of the broadcast coverage. Some are saying, it's a bit of a minefield, but Simon Kadich was in SEN. He said, and I quote, "This is a normal wicket. It is a concern to see 18 wickets fall in a day. It's a really good hard surface." And then Starc after play said that he felt it was similar to a Gabba Day 1 pitch. So where do you stand on all that? And was it as bad as potentially it looks on the scorecard?
No, and I'd say I'm probably more in this Starc kind of Kadich camp. I think that's a pretty fair reflection. You got to leave some juice in at day 1. Players are less willing to soak up time, whether that, that's just a fact, whether that's a tactically sound decision or not, it's up to, other people to kind of judge. No, I thought it was really good. Offered nice, consistent bounce all day. I think, when you combine a bit of seam movement, the numbers I saw were that there was less seam movement here in the first session than there was in the first session in Darwin. I'm going to guess that if I looked at the full day, it would have shown probably more consistent movement all day. At Marara, it had tailed off significantly by the last session, and then the rest of the test, there wasn't a whole heap either. So there was that element of it, but there was also the bounce, and I think that's the bit that really challenges players. It's funny, like when it was heads on pike stuff with Matt Page when it was a 2-day
That's
test
right.
a couple of summers ago. I feel like we're probably, but it wasn't for the Perth test. That was a 2-day test, and
That's
I felt
true.
like people weren't saying that the curator should be, hung, drawn, and quartered kind of thing. I feel like it's more in the Perth test category than the MCG test, where I think everyone acknowledged that there was just a bit too much there. But it will be interesting to see, where it goes tomorrow. But we haven't given ourselves much rope to take this game into a third day, have we?
Not at all, but it's going to be exciting to watch regardless what happens. This has been the Unplayable Podcast, brought to you by Qantas on a manic day of Test cricket. Don't forget you can get in touch with the show on our Instagram channel or by leaving us a rating on Apple Podcasts. Thanks for tuning in on this episode, and we'll see you tomorrow.